Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to put together this little video on using Google Scholar to help you in terms of your research paper. So identifying sources, looking at papers, looking at that type of information, and just some kind of basics to help you kind of get started. So first place we always typically start at is Google. So if you go onto a Google website or any type of search engine, the place I like starting all the time is with Google Scholar. Now there's two different ways you can access that. The first way is I can type in the engine scholar.google.com, or what I can also do is on a Google engine, I can type in Google Scholar and just click enter. So the very first choice that's going to pop up, you will see again, is the direct link for scholar.google.com, which is Google Scholar. So I click on it, and what happens is that this brings up a very similar search engine that you just saw, except there's the word scholar under it. So I want to make sure I'm looking for articles. Now this is one where it's, think about the topic that you're wanting to investigate. So I'm going to look at, let's say, I want to investigate gender bias in math assessments. So that's a topic that's interesting of me. And again, you get kind of the free range of topics as long as dealing with assessment or STEM or something of that nature. So I click on the search engine, and this is where you get a bunch of more information. I can scroll down to the bottom and say, well, these are some related sources I can look at. But how I typically work this is start with reading the article. So like, teachers' belief in gender differences in America? No. Oh, maybe examining gender differences on a multiple choice test. Okay, because I might be looking at specific exams. So I click on it, and it brings me to an online library. Do 8th grade males and females display the same patterns as older examinees? Are the patterns the same? So this might be something where it's like, okay, I'm kind of interested in this. So when I go back to the test, I see a couple different things that's going to help me out. First, you want to make sure you're logged into the USF system, because that's going to give you more access through the university's library. So I click on the PDF under wiley.com, and lo and behold, here is the PDF, or here's the article. So what I can do is I typically, when I'm going through articles for the first time, I start with the abstract. I start with the first paragraph, the first sentence, or the first couple sentences in it, and see, is this of interest. After I read more of it, after I read that, I see like, okay, is this really what I want to do? Then I start looking at some of the information. I also look at the discussion. So I bring up the discussion. I bring up, if there's, sometimes they have a separate conclusion section. So that kind of dictates if this is something that I want to use. If it is, I'm going to read more of it. Now, in those particular cases, so let's say this is an article that exactly what you wanted to do. So you can do a couple different things at this point. These little quotation marks here help you cite it. So you want to make sure all of your work is cited in APA format. So here it kind of does it automatically. Now you do need to be careful if there's multiple authors, because sometimes they mess up the authors a little bit. But for one or two authors, it's usually pretty good to kind of give this as a starting point. The next thing I want to do is you're kind of opening up a spider web a little bit. If this is an article that really matches what you want to do, as you're reading it, pay special attention to what work they reference and what works they look at. Because they might be certain things in here that, again, so like let's say, for example, I'm going through, however, males still tend to do better than females in mathematics as they progress through school. By age 17, these differences are substantial. Friedman, 1989. So that might be something that I want to look at. So I go all the way back to the references and I look up, where's Friedman? So here is Friedman, 1980, Mathematics and a Gender Gap, a Meta-Analysis of Recent Studies on Sex Differences in Mathematical Math. That might be a paper that's going to help me out. So if I find something I really like that works with what I want to do, I'm going to look at the references they use that are applicable to what I want to do, and that's helping now to increase my data pool, or my sample. The next thing that I do is I look under here and I see, well, what's cited by? So I click cited by. And now I see all of the different articles that cited this particular article. So this is the way that I'm going outwards. And this might be some articles, for example, that are a little bit more recent than 1998. So they might be like 2005. And I can say, okay, well, since 2015, what are some of the different articles that reference this? Now, this is basically the best way to get started into really opening up, going down that rabbit hole, seeing what articles are out there, seeing what articles are available, and what's related to my interest topic. So you're going to spend some time doing the search engines there. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick, and what I'm going to do is the following. So I'm going to go back to Google, and I'm going to show you an example for one of the papers that I was working on. So I have, for example, as I go through it, I'm going to see all my different folders. So I'm going to look on, let's say, I think it's in my eye tracking paper, and this is just kind of a way that I sort things out. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's totally up to you, but it's a way that you can access and kind of sort everything. So how I do my references is, if it's a paper that I want to do, this is my in-text citation. So this is how I show it inside of text. What's the title of the paper? I just copy and paste the abstract. And then this is the actual reference for the paper in APA format. So again, all I got to do is copy and paste it. If I have a direct link to it, what type of paper is it about? And then are there specific notes? So, hey, this is going to be a good article to reference, and look at the references. Appendix lists a lot of papers. Or it might be something where it's like, I might create another category here where it's like statement that I can make. So if this is a statement where it's like, research has shown there's a growing influx in the amount of eye trackers being used within research methodology. And I'm just pulling that out at random, but I could possibly type that sentence in, put the reference in. So I'm showing like this is a statement I can make, and this is the reference that I have to back it up. So hopefully this is a good start to help you kind of get ready as to what are some things that you can do when researching your paper. And again, like always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to chat with me.